I'm Laura Scott, owner of Weber's Jewelry Making Tools. Thank you for joining us for the JTV workshop in 2024. And I'm so excited to be here, getting to teach you all again. I'm missing you in person, but this is a great way to interact too. And I want to bring you some fun new jewelry that we can design together. And what I'm going to show you today is with the Weber's Triangle Mandrel pliers. I think you'll really like this little bar necklace. You can jazz it up, jazz it down. Just learning the technique is gonna change your jewelry making. So what you're going to need, I know you have supplies at home that are gonna be great. You can fill in with your own beads as you want, but we are gonna need some beads. Not very big. We're working with 18 gauge wire. So you want a small bead that'll fit over 18 gauge wire. These are actually some larger hole seed beads that I'm using. I am using Parawire. I love the Parawire. It's easy to work with, easy to bend, malleable, but it also holds its shape really well. So I'm using silver in this tutorial. You can use whatever color you feel led to use. You'll need some chain. We're going to cut this. This is about 16 inches. Again, you get to decide how long you want your necklace. So any chain you like, you can choose. We also are gonna want some filler beads in between our triangle drops that we're gonna make. We're gonna use a filler bead. So this is not filler, but more like a spacer. Anything you wanna use to space your drops out with. Tool-wise, I would suggest using the Weber's large looping pliers. These are the Weber's small triangle mandrels. You can see they're in a triangle shape there at the end. And then you're gonna need 2 pairs of flat nose. I have a chain and a flat. You can use whatever suits you best, but 2 pairs to open and close those jump rings, the shapes we're making, and some cutters to cut your wire. So, hope you've gathered all your tools and we're gonna jump in and start making. This is gonna be so much fun. So let's start by getting us we're gonna do about 4 inches of this 18 gauge wire is what you can start with. And what we want to do is get a nice flush cut on the end of that wire, okay? I'm gonna put on my glasses so I can see what I'm doing here with you. And what we're gonna do is take that flush cut and put it about halfway in that jaw of the triangle mandrels. Once it's there, we're just gonna grip it. Now, we wanna let these pliers do the work for us, okay? Instead of pulling our wire around, we're going to twist with these pliers. We're gonna hold this other wire tight with our hand and twist with the pliers so that it does all that work for us and we're not straining our hands. We're just holding the wire. And we're gonna come around, we're gonna open this up, come underneath that smaller jaw and just press so that we have that nice triangle shape formed. So you can see. Now we're gonna remove this from the pliers. I like to come in with my chain nose. What we want is for these drops, we want to bend this wire coming straight up from the center of our triangle. So I like to grip with my chain nose on the far side of that triangle. And I'm just gonna bend this wire right up against those pliers so that it comes straight up the middle there. That's what we wanna do. So now that we've done that, we have this, see the start of our dangle. And what we're gonna do is put our beads on. Now I'm gonna start by doing the middle dangle. So I'm gonna get about 5 of these beads. You can choose, however, whatever looks best for you, you can choose what you wanna do. So I'm gonna start with 5. 1, 2, 3. We'll take that one since it popped off. You know, you kind of wanna mix things up. It doesn't always have to be so uniform, but we'll just start with a random set of beads because the next 2 drops we're gonna make are gonna have 3 beads. So I can make random colors. We'll get to that in a minute of how we wanna do that. But once I have my beads on that wire, what I'm going to do now is take my large looping pliers and I'm gonna grip the opposite direction. I want my wire to go around this loop in the opposite direction that the triangle is, because that's gonna matter when we put it on our bar. So I'm just gonna push. I'm resting those against the beads. I'm gonna push. I'm gonna pull this around And I'm gonna start wrapping it. I'm gonna crick this neck. I'm gonna wrap it around that jaw, crick this neck, finish that wrap out. And there's my first loop on this triangle. So and see how it's going opposite directions. This is going up and down, and the triangle, I'm gonna give it a little twist there, and the triangle is going sideways. So we're gonna trim off our extra, and that's our first dangle that we've made. Now this is gonna be the center dangle that we had in that piece. So we're gonna make the 2 side ones now and get a little bit shorter of wire. I don't need quite 4 inches this time. Whatever you feel comfortable with, you can use. And y'all, like I said, you may wanna do more beads, less beads, it's up to you. That's the beauty of this. You can do it however you want. So I'm gonna trim off a little of that extra, make it a nice, flat, flush cut. I'm gonna get these triangle pliers, put that in the center, press, and I'm gonna wrap around with those pliers. I'm only holding this in my hand, and I'm letting those pliers twist it around while I hold. Okay, so once I have that part done, gonna come in with these all the way to the side, because when I fold this up, I want it to be in the center, and that's what works well, is holding those pliers all the way to the side so that I get that coming nice straight up in the middle. Now, this time I want to do 3 beads on here because I want these 2 side ones to be a little bit shorter. I'm gonna start with blue this time, little black one. You could even do all the same color beads. It really is up to you. That's the fun of these projects, is getting to make it your own and getting it to look however you want it to look. So I'm just gonna go with these 3 for now. We're gonna take these looping pliers, rest against that top bead, give it a push, wrap this around. I'm gonna crick that neck so I can finish that wrap, and that'll put my loop straight up and down. There we go, and we're gonna trim off the extra. Okay, so look at this. I have 2 of these now done. And you can start to see how this is gonna form like in my necklace, if we can come straight down on it. And now I'm gonna work on this other side. So this is a point, you could kind of lay out your beads at this point if you wanted to see how they flow with the color. Like those will be lined up about there. So I might do that kind of turquoise blue. I think I need some more yellow, but I'm gonna put it, let's see, I'll put it in the middle, kind of like that. And then I really like that dark in there, so I'll put the dark at the top. So I can this is where I kind of get to see, okay, I think I like this layout. If I didn't like the layout, it's better to do it now than when you've got it already wrapped and everything. So this kind of lets me see what I'm doing. So again, we're gonna take another bit of wire, get that flush cut. So the flush cut, if you've been hearing me say flush cut and you're wondering what I mean, your cutters are gonna have a concave side that goes in, and then it has this flat side where I can just run my fingers over it nice and smooth. So what that does is when you put the flat side against your wire toward the piece you're working on, that's what I mean towards your wire, the piece you're working on, you're gonna give it a nice flat cut, and so it's smooth, it's not angled. That way when we close out these triangles like we have here, that's a nice flat cut, and it'll rest nicely against our piece. And it gives it just that nice flat cut. So we just made our flush cut, the flat cut, and we're gonna put this halfway into those triangles. I'm gonna push down, let these pliers do the work for me. Always let them do the work for you, and twist those pliers around. We're gonna open that jaw up, continue twisting, and come behind it. And I like to give this a little push just to get those nice creases again. Take your flat nose pliers, I'm actually using chain nose, rest it in the far side of that triangle so that when you pull this up, it's gonna be centered against those pliers. Now, I already have my 3 beads laid out, so I'm gonna take this little turquoise colorish one, and the yellow, and that black color. And again, this would really, this would look pretty even with the all same color. It's really just up to you and your design, where you're being led to that day. That's the fun of jewelry making. letting the piece really speak to you and what you're feeling. Okay, so we're gonna line this up. We want our loop to go the opposite direction as our triangle. So I'm holding my triangle flat. I'm gonna push, bring this wire around, and wrap right next to that jaw in there. I'm gonna crick this neck up so I can finish that wrap, and that'll make my loop nice and even with the piece. We're gonna trim off the extra. And there we go. We have 3 of these ready to now put on our bar. And I know they're not sitting exactly right because our loops are going both ways, but once we get those on the bar, those will be perfect. And this is what I meant with the spacer beads. When we put them on the bar, you want something in between those dangles that you're making to kind of space them out so that they hang nice and centered. But I'll show you that as we make the bar. So I'm just gonna set this aside for a minute with these 2 little beads. Okay, so we have our dangles made, and now we're ready to attach it to a chain. Now I did tell about some variations where you can choose however many dangles you want. Like this necklace has 5 on it, and this one is a beaded chain necklace. If I wanna just add chain though, I'm gonna show you how to do that and wrap this into our necklace. So again, I have about 16 inches of chain. I'm just gonna take this in the middle and cut it down the middle because I'm gonna attach one end of each chain to my bar. So let me cut one of these open. And now we have 2 pieces of chain. I know I just cut one. Oh, I'm gonna have to find that middle again. You know, that's okay, we can do this. We'll just find it. I thought it would fall off, but it didn't, and that's okay. I'll just get to the middle again, cut that center piece. I'm gonna cut through both of them this time. That way I know for sure it cut through there. Maybe. There we go. Okay, and I'm removing that link that I just cut. So you might need to grip that with some flat nose pliers, whatever you need. Okay, now we have 2 pieces of chain. So what I'm going to do is get myself a long enough piece of this 18 gauge wire that I can put my filler beads on, my spacer beads, and I need to wrap 2 loops at the end into this chain. So I'm gonna get a piece, I'm gonna eyeball it about what I would need, and I'm going to make the first loop. Now this does not have to have a flush cut on it because we're gonna cut off our extra. So leave yourself about 1 inch. You're gonna push down, come around. Now before we finish out that wrap, we wanna slide on one side of the chain. So let's get that slid on there. It's going to rest against your jaw, your round jaw. Now we're gonna take this and just wrap right next to it. If you need to get in there with some chain nose pliers to pull that wire around for you, go ahead and do that. That'll make it a lot easier than you trying to push 18 gauge wire with your hand. Let those tools do the hard work for you. So I've made that wrap. We want to crick the neck so that it's nice and centered. And there you go. You have that same size loop in there and your chain is attached. This is not going to come apart. So we want to trim off our extra there, that wire. Now we're gonna start laying out, we have our chain attached, and we are gonna start laying out our dangles. So I first want a spacer bead. Let's slide that on. And again, these spacer beads, they can be any bead that you think is gonna look good with your dangles. They don't have to be a silver ball. They can be anything you want. So I'm sliding that on. And when you put these dangles on, you can look at them and go, okay, which way looks the best? I can choose which ones to be the front. Just make sure that whatever you decide, you keep your front always facing you so you don't get confused and have one that you go, oh, I wanted that on the front, but it ends up on the back. So I'm gonna do another spacer bead. And then my middle one here, and I like the way that one's looking there. And then I'm gonna put another spacer bead. Get that on the end of that wire. And my last dangle. And I like the way that looks there. There we go. I need one more spacer bead to even out over here what I started with. I want to keep it even. So I'm going to slide that on. There we go. Oh, that's going to look really nice. Okay, so now we have our 3 dangles on there. They're spaced out with the spacer beads. Now we can work on the other side and attach our chain on the other side. So what we're going to do is we want the loop that we're about to make to face the same direction as our first loop did, okay? So what you're gonna do is hold that loop there. You're gonna make sure these are going the same direction. Just rest it against those beads and you can push, bring this around and start wrapping. You wanna crick that, oh, whoa, whoa. Before we start wrapping, look, I caught myself. We gotta slide this chain on. So let's get that slid on there, resting against that jaw just like last time. Now we can wrap. Make sure your wrap is above the chain or it won't work. What I mean by that is, I don't know if you can see this, I'm pulling this through and I wanna make sure my chain is on this side of it, resting against that jaw, so that when I wrap this around, it doesn't trap my chain in the wrong spot. Okay, so I'm gonna finish that wrap out. Slide this out. And we're gonna cut off our extra there. All right, so now we have this part. You know what, I realized I have some extra piece of chain over here. I didn't make it quite into that end loop, so I'm gonna cut off my extra over here. There we go. So now I have my chain attached. And what we need now is our clasp. Now I can see some of these look a little wonky, so I'm trying to just make those straight. Let me lay this out here. Okay, so we're ready to put our clasp on. Look at that. And again, you can make this any length you want to. That's gonna look really nice. Okay, so for our clasp, we're gonna need 2 jump rings, one to attach our clasp with, and the other one to have something to put the lobster clasp into. So I've got my 2 jump rings out. This is where you're gonna want 2 pairs of flats. I have a chain and a flat, so those will work fine. We're gonna grip our jump ring with one of the pliers. And this one's already opened these. Now, anytime you're working with jump rings and you wanna open and shut them, you wanna make sure that you're always twisting. If you push and pull them open, you are gonna distort the circle. So we wanna keep our circle a nice shape. And so we're twisting those open. I'm gonna go ahead and just put a jump ring on this side because I like my, let's see if this is the front here. I'm right-handed and this will actually become the right-handed side. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my clasp on that right-handed side. And again, you can use any type of clasp you want. If you like magnetic and that works for you better, attach a magnetic one. But this is just anything you want to do with this necklace. It's gonna be so much fun. And this is gonna be a different look. I really love when I wear these necklaces because you don't see many like this out there. And people are always surprised at different pieces that are still elegant and look classy. They love them. So now I go out and I have a classy look that's simple, easy to make, and it makes me feel special. So, okay, so we are gonna put this other jump ring on the other side of our necklace. I've put it through the end of the necklace and I'm just twisting that shut. So that is how to make that. Now I wanna show you, look at that, isn't that lovely? Like a simple bar necklace that you can go out and wear. Very simply done, I like that. I wanna show you a little variation on this, okay? So if we come up over here, I don't know if you can see these top triangles here. We're gonna get this camera on it. So here's a little variation on this design that I wanna show you. Can you see those spirals in the middle of the triangles? This is an option that you can do on your necklace. I wanna show you how to achieve that spiral in the middle of the triangle. So say we have our dangles we're working on. We're gonna start with a little bit of extra wire. I'm gonna snip off our extra. Now this time, we wanna start with some round nose pliers. This is a variation for you. We wanna get some round nose. These are actually chain right now, but if you'll do round nose, you'll get a nice circle. I know how to get a circle with some chain, so I'm gonna cheat a little bit here. But just start with you're gonna like make an eye on that loop, a little eye loop. Now, you're gonna grip with your flat nose and continue to roll that wire around. I don't know if you can see how I'm starting to roll that wire around. And I just wanna go around twice because our triangles are small, they're not really big. So we don't wanna overpower our triangle shape. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So you want about that much. 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. And what you're going to do is grip this wire in the middle of that larger, we're in the jaw, and we want it right in the middle of that larger triangle. We're gonna grip, we're gonna wrap around again, let those pliers do the work for you. Open up and pull that wire around with those pliers. And we're just leaving our wire still, but look, now we have a triangle, and this is going to be sticking up, but all you have to do, this is so cool. You take your flat nose and you come in and grip it and just push it down in there. And look, there's that right in the middle. Now, you can grip to the side. Now this is why I like my Webbers, because we have this nice finish that's gonna let us grip and not mar our metal. But I can grip to the side here and pull this straight up so that it wants to come in the middle again. So I'm gonna give that a little push straight up in the middle. Now, you just slide your beads on. It's just like we did before. And do 1, 2, 3. So this is just kind of taking our necklace next level if we want to. So we have the 3 beads on there. Then you come in with those looping pliers, opposite direction. You're gonna push, bring that around your jaw, crick the neck, and make that wrap. And there you go. So that's a really nice little twist you can put on that design we just did. Just look at that. That would look really cute on there too. I don't know if you can see. I'll just add that in there. I mean, look at that. You could even make them, you could do 5 on there and make them almost similar sizes. You could do another one like, oh, let me do another one. Look at how fun that would be if we just put another one of those on the other side. That's the fun part about designing the jewelry and you getting to make this how you want. You can make it, everyone has different, it's gonna strike you different however you're making things, and that's the fun part about learning something new. We're teaching you something new and you can just run with it. You can make it look however you want, which is so amazing. I would love to see if y'all got on JTV's Facebook or somewhere. I would love to see you post these and let me see what you've made, because the possibilities are endless with what you're learning. So again, I just made my spiral. I'm gonna put it over middle, placed on that larger jaw. So my smaller jaw's on the top, larger jaw's on the bottom. And I'm just gonna twist these pliers around. Come underneath that first spiral, take my flats and push the spiral in the middle. And then I'm gonna hold with my flats. I have that spiral in the middle. I'm gonna hold with the flats and bring that wire right up the middle. I just put it up the side of my pliers there. So there it is in the middle. Now I'm gonna put my 3 beads on it. 1, 2, we'll do a blue one. Then I'm gonna make that loop on the top. So I'm gripping the opposite direction of where my triangle was. I'm going to push, wrap around that bottom jaw, the round jaw. I'm gonna crick the neck, finish that wrap. going to cut off my extra. Oh yeah, look at that. How much fun would that be to have? You could fill it full, or you could leave it with just the 3, but look at how fun that is. So I just had another idea. I want to show you another variation to this necklace that I think would be really cute. Add some dimension to it as well. If you didn't like just the bar, if you wanted to jazz it up a little more, like this is a simple, nice, easygoing look, but I want to show you how to jazz it up a little bit. This might be really fun. So we are going to make another bar, but it's going to be shorter, okay? And we just did these 2. We could even dangle these from the ones going up the side, or I'll show you. Let me show you. Okay, so we are gonna take our bar, we are going to make our first loop, and we want to wrap this into this one right here, this first bar. So I'm going to rest that against the pliers. It's resting right against there. I'm gonna wrap around that jaw with this shorter one. Again, if I need to, I can get in there with some pliers and pull that around. I'm gonna trim off that extra. I forgot to crick that neck, but we can just get back in there and crick it. Okay, let's trim off that extra. Looky there. Okay, so this is gonna be coming up the side over here. So this is what I think would look really cute. I think you could take another bead. There's a couple of things you could do. We could either put 1, 2, 3 of these. You know, that end of my wire. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Now I could either wrap that just how it is, or I could put one of these in between and do this bead. Now I would suggest maybe having another spiral right there if you went on up the side, probably putting a spiral in the center to even things out. But for the purposes of this, I just want to show you how this could really jazz this up some more. Now we want our chain. If your chain does not have links that come open, I want to show you again how to wrap into this, okay? Some of you may have links that will open. This chain actually has links that will open, so I'll do that on the other side, but I want to show you how to wrap your chain into it. So we're just going to push, come around. Now before we start wrapping this, we're going to slide this chain on and rest it up against that end of the plier again, just like we've done everything else. We're gonna wrap, make sure your wrap stays above your chain, meaning your chain doesn't get in between the bead, your filler bead, because that will crick up your chain and mess it up. So we're gonna crick that neck, continue our wrap around, and see, I did not stay above my chain. So that's good that I just did this so I can show you. Sometimes when I work to the camera, it's hard to see. So I'm gonna unwrap this. You'll know if you wrapped below your chain, because what just happened will happen. We want that to move freely around that loop. So we really need to rest that right against that jaw. Then we wrap below it, and let me show you the difference. Now this chain moves freely on that loop. So I'm kind of glad that happened, so that can explain that a little better to you, what I meant by staying above your chain. Okay, so there's that. Oh yeah, that's gonna be really cute. And then let's do the same thing to the other side. Let's put another one over here. Again, these don't have to be flush cut because we're gonna trim off those ends anyways. So we want to wrap into this part of the necklace. I'm gonna rest that right up against there. Wrap below it so it can move freely on that loop. Pull with some pliers. I should have gotten my flat nose. I got these little chain nose. I should have gotten the flat nose so I can have a wider grip. These will work. We're gonna trim off our extra. don't know if you can see that, but I'm getting these same consistent size loops over and over again, which is great. That's why I love these looping pliers, because they measure for me and everything's gonna be the same and consistent. That's why I like those. Now let's put our bead on. Our cute little dangle. And one more spacer bead. All right, oh, this is cute. Look at this. Okay, so again, these have the open jump rings, but I'm gonna show you again, just since I have you and I'm on here, let's show you again how to wrap into that chain. We wanna make sure our loop is going the same direction as the first one. So we rest this right up against that bead. I can see my circle is gonna be the same direction as this loop. I'm going to push, bring this around, and we want that dangle to be up in front. Let's see. I'm gonna move that out of the way. Now, before we wrap it, we're gonna slide this chain on there. And this chain is going to rest. Make sure you pull it all the way down there. See how it's gonna be resting right against that jaw. So when I make that wrap, I make sure that that chain stays against that jaw, and I'm gonna come underneath the chain so that it can move freely on that loop. Crick that neck and finish out the wrap. There, good job. Trim off my extra. Now look at this. Look at how cute that is. Just adding a complete, let's see, I got something all twisted here. Completely different look. Oh, and when it's hanging on your neck, how cute will that be? So again, I would probably do some spirals in that middle one if you wanted to do something like this, and maybe make these shorter even. Like, that's the fun part. You can design this. I'd probably just put 2 beads on these and make them a little shorter. But so many possibilities you can do. It's gonna look different from anything else in your wardrobe. I just absolutely love this. So again, I'm Laura Scott. I've been your instructor today. Even though this is pre-recorded, I am actually online with you right now. If y'all have any final questions or comments that you need help with, feel free to put those in the, there should be a little on Facebook or wherever, put those in the comments, and I will be watching along, answering your questions. I'll be able to type in some answers. I will be sticking around for a little bit, so I'm so glad you joined us. I hope this has been so much fun for you. Again, I miss all of you in person. It's so much fun when I get to see you, but this seems like a really great, fun way to interact too, and I'm excited that y'all are taking this class. So just leave me comments or questions, and I will get back with you.